Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of But First Football. Hey, Vaughn, 8 episodes, and we're still doing it.
We haven't thrown our hands up in frustration and given up. Yeah, we're keeping at it.
I'm so excited. I think we're making progress.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
for anyone listening, thank you for being here for episode 8. I am here with my good friend Vaughn Parker, who is our football phenom who played 11 seasons in the NFL, 10 of which with the San Diego Superchargers. And I am Kim Beal, the self-proclaimed first lady of football fandom and fashion. And we're just here because we love football and we love fashion and we love family and we love food and we love lots of F words. I was thinking of a few others today that we should dabble in at some point. We love fragrance, fitness. We talk about on occasion. There was something else I thought about, but I'll think of it another time.
Okay.
So here we are on episode 8, and we will be starting our football fundamentals segment. And we this week are talking about running backs.
Yes.
So, as we've discussed in the past, the running back is probably the position has changed so much. They're not making a lot of money. They're not getting big contracts, but they're an integral part of the game. So, Vaughn, if you would be so kind as to talk to us about the running back position.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on the head, Kim. The position has changed so much from when I played. There's definitely been a de-emphasis on having one main running back. A lot of teams today try to divvy up the responsibilities of the running back between multiple guys. So whether that's two or three, a guy for first, second down, and then bring in a guy who specializes in the passing game, whether it's blocking for the quarterback or whether it's getting out of routes. And basically, what that's done is it's definitely, like you said, it's affected the contracts that these guys have been offered, and to the point that many of the top running backs last year kind of had a meeting amongst themselves to try to address the contract issues that many of them were finding. You know, they're coming up on that next contract, and they just weren't seeing the numbers that they wanted. And so, again, it all kind of ties into kind of what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks with the contracts, the de-emphasis on the position. So, just wanted to further, our journey and kind of talk about the responsibilities of that position. And so,
Vaughn,
basically,
just can
yes.
I jump in for a second? So, when you think back to some of the most iconic and important football players in the game, they have been
Mhm.
running backs. I mean, my
Yes.
personal favorite football player of all time, Walter Payton, Sweetness, was a running back. Jim
Right.
Brown, running back. Barry Sanders, running back. Emmett Smith, running back. Like, these are like really iconic players. So is it really just because was it the injury factor that the teams decided they had to stop going with one main back, or where do you think that all kind of started?
Look, I'd love to say that ownership and coaches, have found it in their heart that they're concerned about the safety of their running backs, and so they want to lessen their load and split them up amongst two or three guys. But that really hasn't been it. I think it's more of the emphasis on the passing game. When I played, the theory was always that you threw to where you could count on them getting big numbers, and because those numbers are being de-emphasized in the running game, then that affects the contracts that some of these guys are getting. So obviously, we know that running backs their main purpose is to make yardage running the ball, but they're just as important in the passing game in terms of getting out into routes and also blocking for the quarterback. And one of the interesting things for me back when I played, I was never afraid to ask for help. And one of the as running backs get out into their routes, they often help their offensive linemen in pass protection, whether it's through giving body presence as they run through the gaps, Or sometimes on their way out, you'll hear the term chip. And what a chip is, as the running back gets into his route, he'll chip the defensive lineman, helping the offensive line player on his way to get into his route. And so to encourage that, I used to pay my running backs $20 for each chip. And I
What?
was, yeah, oh yeah, oh
That is
yeah.
very interesting.
Oh yeah. Now I'd imagine that'd be upwards. If I was playing nowadays, I'd be shelling out 100 per chip. But
Yeah.
it was worth it. It was worth it to me to always have them thinking, hey, when I'm going to Vaughn's side, as I'm getting into my route, if I see color, then I'm gonna try to blow that guy up as long as it doesn't prevent me from getting into my route, which is my main responsibility. And it was always, they loved it. They'd come back, and I never questioned it. They'd come back, hey, Vaughn, I had 3 chips. Hey, here's the $60. And look, it's lunch. It's a lunch or whatever. But it was just always to try to encourage them to. I'm like, hey, I am not above asking for help.
Oh, I love that. So, I mean, that's almost like on par with the quarterback, giving you guys Rolexes.
Yeah, right.
Now,
Not
let
quite
me
as
just ask
extravagant.
you. So
Yeah.
like last year, our offensive coordinator, Dave Canales, who is now the head coach in Carolina, I really
Mhm.
liked him. Like he brought so many great things to the team. But one of the things that was killing me was he was so determined to get the running game going. And I understand you have to have a running game to support a passing game.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes perfect sense to me. But one of the things that just nearly made me lose my mind was, I swear to God, we ran it on every first down. And it just wasn't working. Like it became so predictable. And
Right.
I would just sit there with my head in my hands, like, oh no, really? Again? Like, why? I mean, why? Why? Why did that happen?
Uh, I think in part because offensive coordinators and offenses don't really look at it as, oh, we're running on first down. They get more granular than that in terms of, this is an outside run, this is an inside run. We're running this to the left inside the tackles. We're running this to the right outside of the tackles. And so I'm sure it did feel that way, but along with them looking at the run game on a more granular level than maybe the fans watching at home is the fact that no offense is ever going to acquiesce to the fact that we can't run the ball, right? That's always going to be, football is it's a hard game, it's a tough game, and it's men going out and proving their toughness. And so part of that is, hey, we need to run the ball when we need to run the ball. These critical downs, critical situations. A first down is always going to be a critical down because you want to make positive yardage, at least 3 to 4 yards, because then guess what? 2nd and 7 is way better than 2nd and 10. And so
Yeah.
that's part of the stubbornness of, because and you'd like to think there'd be a little bit more variety, maybe a play action pass, maybe a bootleg, right?
I
Where
mean,
you're just
it
not,
led to so many three and outs. Like it was,
yeah,
it just never really got going. Maybe a little bit toward the end of the season,
yeah,
and our running back Rashad White, he's good. I mean, he's very good, but it was, to me, it just seemed super predictable. Um, but it was funny when we talked on Tuesday that we were going to discuss running backs today. I was watching the NFL Football Life on NFL Network, and it was Walter Payton, who, as you know, my
yeah,
favorite.
yeah.
And do you know that his first NFL game, he carried the ball 8 times for no yards? Walter
Really,
Payton. Isn't
yeah.
that crazy?
But that's the NFL. The NFL is going to humble you, and it's just about how you respond. Like everyone's going to, get their butt kicked on any given play, any given Sunday, and then it's about, hey, how do you respond? Are you going to go in the tank, or are you going to have a Hall of Fame career like Walter Payton, right?
I mean, some of those runs of his are they're almost I don't even know how to describe him. He zigs and he zags and he's lateral. Then he sees something and he runs, and then, like, I mean, how many times did he land on his head? Like he'd go up in the air. He was magical to watch. And then I
Yeah,
learned, this is something I did not know, that the game where he broke the single game rushing record, he had the flu. So what is it about the flu and these guys that have these magnificent performances like Walter Payton now I know, and remember Michael Jordan, the flu
Yeah,
game?
the flu
Like
game. Yeah.
I wish I felt that good when I had the flu.
No, I think that's just the measure of the man, right? It's
Yeah.
just you think about oh geez, I always forget if it was Jack Lambert or Jack Ham who played on a broken leg.
Lambert,
Uh,
wasn't it? Or
yeah,
no,
yeah, maybe
was
it
it the
was
guy from the Rams? But Youngblood. Jack Youngblood.
Jack Youngblood. Oh geez, okay, there you go. Oh, nice pull. That was a good pull. Um, yeah, played on a broken leg and Ronnie Lott. He cut the tip of his finger off so he didn't have to miss a game. And to a lot of people, that's not the rational decision. Hey, I'm going to miss this game and keep my fingertip, right?
Well, Walter
And
Payton only missed one game his entire career.
yeah,
One.
yeah. And so I think that's what it is. It's the measure of the man, like, because flu takes it out of you. And it's just like, look, these guys are counting on me to be special, and despite this, how bad I feel, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to produce. And the NFL is full of stories like that you won't hear. A guy, tears a ligament and yet he plays. Philip Rivers in 2007, I believe, in the I want to say it was the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. Maybe it was '07, '06, '07, '08, and he played on a torn ACL.
Oh
Now,
God,
granted,
I didn't know that.
yeah, a quarterback, a slight tear your ACL, quarterback can do it. You can't do that at other positions. At least I'm not aware of any other instances where that happened. But still, his ACL is torn. So, guys, it happens way more often than you even hear about. Some of it you'll never even hear or know about.
Well,
So that's
it's
kind of
funny when you mentioned the ACL. So Elizabeth just did some dissection and and got a look at the ACL and the other one the MCL. And she's like, Mom, I can totally understand how that would sideline an athlete. It's so like important and it's big. And I was like, ew.
yeah,
but yeah, that's crazy.
yeah.
So back to running backs for just a moment. Well, first of all, back to sweetness for just a moment. I still have my 45 of the Super Bowl Shuffle. I'm just going to tell you, I still have that record. The Bears, if I probably haven't talked about this, but the Bears are probably my number 3 team. I was born in Chicago. I was not raised there, but I went back and I lived there when I got out of college. And it was the year after the Super Bowl. And so now everybody knows how old I am. But so I have the 45 and his little song where my name is Sweetness. I like to dance. Running the fields like making romance. It was such a good record.
Was it really good?
Well, if you were a Bears fan, it was. I'm the punk
Yes.
QB known as McMahon. When I hit the turf, I got no plan. Yeah, it was.
Oh my goodness.
That scares me that I really remember that well. But the other funny thing,
I'm sure all the Bears fans remember that.
Of course they do. Then Matt Suey, who was his fullback.
Yep.
Now, are
Mhm.
there? Do I not notice fullbacks anymore? Do they play?
No, it's a disappearing position. When I was with the Chargers, for many years, we didn't have a fullback. Our H backs, which are, as we discussed a couple weeks ago, are part of the tight end group. Our H backs would play that role on plays where you would traditionally have a fullback. And so I think maybe there's probably still maybe 15 to 20 even sounds high, but at least about 15 fullbacks still playing in the NFL. And again, it's just offenses have kind of moved on to more of a spread, and the fullback just is not a position where it sees a lot of use in a spread offense. And so another reason fullbacks. So I remember the end of my tenure with the Chargers. LT had been running a lot of one back sets, and so they brought in Lorenzo Neal, who was
He was a fullback.
he was a
Yeah,
fullback.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so
I remember him.
Yeah, the idea was that bringing him in, we were going to go two backs. Lorenzo Neal was an incredible blocker, just basically another offensive lineman at the fullback position, and that would help get our running game going, which it absolutely did. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure loved running behind him,
And
and so
that's what Matt Suey was for Walter Payton, and they were
yes,
very good friends. And Matt Suey, as you know, everyone said had Walter's back on the field and off. But
yes,
when I first moved back to Chicago after college, I was working in this pizza place, and it was in downtown. It was in the Sears Tower, you know, the at one time the world's tallest building. And I'm in the
mhm.
basement at the pizza, working in the pizza parlor. And this guy comes in, and it was Matt Suey, and he had on a suit. He was
Oh,
obviously there for a business meeting, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Matt Suey. And he's like, yes, hello. I'm like, hello. I'm like, what kind of pizza can I get for you? Because they were like little individual pizzas, and he's like,
yeah,
what should I get? I'm like, well, let me just have the guys make you something special. I'm like, guys, make Matt Suey a pizza. And then I'm like, and while we wait, would you sign this pizza box? That's all I had. So Matt Suey signed this little pizza box. It was Antonio's Pizza, and I had that thing on my wall for
do you
years.
really?
I don't know where it is now,
Oh,
though.
you had it for
I
okay,
did
gotcha.
for years. Matt Suey signing an Antonio's Pizza, and he was probably like, "Get me the hell out of here! This girl is crazy." But those were just things that watching that NFL football life with Walter made me think about, like that whole running back and the relationship that he had with Matt Suey. It was, you know, I guess, who does a running back have that relationship with anymore? Maybe the tight end, maybe the O line. It is definitely a different game.
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit. Like you said, number of fullbacks. That was pretty a standard set to have a running back and a fullback. And you know, some of I think everything's cyclical, and maybe there's a point somewhere in the future where someone decides that the way to beat all the spreads is just to slow the game down. We're going to run the ball, run the clocks, play special teams, and we're going to be big and have fullbacks. And, who knows, right? Because everything comes back around. But as of right now, that's not the case. And
Now,
as I said,
is it my imagination, or I see so much now that running backs are also really responsible for those little short screen passes, you know,
yep.
catching those short passes. Is that like standard for the position now?
Oh, yeah, pretty much. And then what it is some of those little short passes, getting the football wide out, it's just almost like an extended handoff, right? The ball
Okay.
doesn't travel very far, but you get your running back out in space. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can get some blockers out in front of them. And so, yeah, the screen game is always going to be good. Just at the end of my career, the RPO, meaning run pass option, where the quarterback goes to the line and we would have a run play called and we block it just as if it was a run. But if the quarterback got a look that he liked, he'd throw the ball, right? And he'd throw the ball instead. And so all that little stuff is just almost another way of just extending the run game, which obviously running backs are responsible for the largest part of that. Look, I the thing is, as the NFLPA is concerned, and this is kind of more the back end of the sport, and maybe not the glamorous fun part. I don't know that the NFLPA cares about who exactly is getting the allocation of money, as long as the money is going to the players.
Now,
Um,
Vaughn, you're talking
yes,
about the NFL Players Association, correct?
yes,
Okay.
yes, correct. Um, there's a mandate from them that, hey, here's the ceiling. I'm sorry, here's the floor on the money in any given year that's to be spent, and so they're not going to quibble about, well, does the money go to a running back or does it go to a wide receiver or does it go to a quarterback? Their main concern is that it goes to the players as opposed to, the lion's share goes to the players as opposed to ownership, and so it's a tough position for running backs to be in, that there's this perception that they're not as important. And if you look at it, teams have been creative in finding ways, hey, whereas, 20 years ago, we would have a running back who touched the ball 25 times averaged well over 1,000 yards and had 50 catches. Now they're splitting that production up amongst three guys. They don't have to pay them as much, and then they're taking those dollars that normally would have been allocated to a Emmitt Smith, to a LaDainian Tomlinson, and now they're putting those dollars into other positions. And part of it is the quarterback. Quarterback salaries have ballooned. We just talked last week about receiver salaries ballooning.
You
So
know, I read today that they're actually talking about doing a separate salary cap for quarterbacks.
oh, is that right?
It was in the Athletic today. So I feel
Okay.
like that's a conversation because now if you think about it, who the running back position could become obsolete because who's going to want to do it? And then, it's not like you start as a left tackle and they move you to right tackle. If you come into the league as a running back, you probably don't end up a wide receiver at any time, right?
The rare occasion, but yeah, it's not the norm.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
seems like they are going to have to do something to keep that facet of the game, a position that kids aspire to, you
Yeah. Well,
know?
like two weeks ago, we talked about it too. With tight ends, traditionally had not been a position that got the huge contracts, except now that you have tight ends who do have the production of high end receivers, right? And
Yeah.
so that's kind of elevated everyone at the position. And we talked about, your guy, Antoine Winfield, right? And safety was not a position that traditionally got the huge contracts. Corners were always at a premium because it's such a tough position, and they're kind of everyone refers to it as being out there on the island, meaning you're out there by yourself oftentimes, and so corners would get paid over the years, but it's just so now that and I think part of that with the safeties is just that they're so intricate and so involved in every facet of a defense. So and so those traditionally have been the three positions that kind of haven't really seen the
The
biggest of
money.
big.
Yeah.
So
So who would you say if you were to really talk if you were to tell someone this guy's the prototype of a great running back right now in football, who would you say?
I don't know if he's the prototype just because it's rare you're going to see someone at his size, but I love Derrick Henry. Just
Yeah.
he's so physical and so productive. And, he's getting at that point where you running backs have the shortest careers because they take so much punishment. You got 11 mega athlete coming after you on every possession, every time you touch the ball, and so about the 7, 8, 9 year range is when running backs typically see a big fall off in their production. He's as big as he is. He's fought that, so I love his game. Najee Harris is similarly built, but not quite. Not yet. Anyway, he's still young. He has a chance to maybe duplicate what Derrick Henry has done. Saquon Barkley is another, not quite the stature of Derrick Henry, but
Well,
physically,
and
you look at the size are
two
huge, right?
yeah, two of those three guys that you just mentioned are on different teams this year. So to your
Yeah,
point, they got to move around to
yeah.
make a little money. Um, and when you think about giant thighs, it leads me back to my fashion days when Jerome Bettis came in one day, and the bus, and
Yep.
me and my football. I'm always like, oh my god, that's Jerome Bettis. So of course, who has to go help him? Me. And he was looking for jeans, and I just took one look at his thighs. I'm like, no,
Right.
it's not gonna happen.
And let me guess, he didn't want the Wranglers, he wanted the fashion jeans, I'm
Yes,
guessing.
well, that's why he was in my store, and I'm like, oh my god, I tried, but yeah, we didn't have anything. But now, what about Christian McCafferty?
Yes.
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey, yes.
So his dad was a wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then he's a running back,
Right.
and he just got paid.
Yeah, he's again. I could have said his name. I just I partial to those big guys, kind of Reminds me of, I'm sure he has a great relationship with the offensive line, but Chris McCracken, he's a do it all back, right? He's the type of guy that he's the rare guy who goes on the field nowadays and doesn't come off, right?
Yeah, and he
He's
catches a lot
great
of ball.
down.
Like he's very he's all over the place. He's as much a receiver in my mind as a running back. But
Yeah.
he's on the cover of Madden. That's not good.
Oh, I'm not sure if the Madden curse is really a thing. By the
Are
way,
you sure?
I mean, I guess there's anecdotal evidence to the contrary, but no, I don't believe. But you're right. But that's a testament to Shanahan putting him in creative situations, whether it's flexed out in the slot or actually putting him on the line of scrimmage as a wide receiver and getting him the ball in interesting ways. And that's just saying, hey, we don't have to run the ball with Christian. He's talented enough, and we're talented enough that as long as he gets his touches, then we'll get the production that we need that will help
Yeah.
us win.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the running back. It's going to be an interesting season. I am excited to watch, particularly Derrick Henry in Baltimore. I can't
Yeah,
imagine that will not be a very
success. Right.
powerful offense this year.
Yes.
So let's move into the football frenzy if you're ready.
Okay.
And first I have to give my little Bucks shout outs. So I have 3 quick little Bucks shout outs. So sorry for all of you non-Buccaneer fans, but number 1 is Coach Bowles is so nice. He's so nice. I know he's nice because he's very supportive of his wife and his kids. He comes to all her events, and their kids are lovely and very well behaved, and 2 of them play football, and they're wonderful family. But I saw Coach Bowles at the press conference the other day call up this photographer who's retiring and acknowledge his retirement, thank him for his years of service, and gave him a personalized jersey. And the photographer was so moved he was crying.
Oh,
So,
really? Wow.
Coach Bowles is so nice. That's number 1. Number 2. Number 2, Baker's got jokes. They were they were asking Baker the other day about our new center, Graham Barton, and he came from Duke, and Baker said, "I guess Duke's academic program is pretty good." So Baker's got jokes.
Okay.
And then we have discussed a few times now, like the players who played basketball and the back and forth with that. But did you know that Mike Evans is hosting a basketball league in his hometown of Galveston this summer?
Oh, really? Okay. Is it
So
for high school?
yeah, I think all ages.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one of his things that he's doing this summer. So it's basketball. Interesting.
Yeah, with his athleticism and height, I gotta imagine he played hoops at some point in his career.
He definitely did at A&M.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he did at A&M. Yeah.
Okay.
But those are my few little. Those are just my 3 little love to the Bucks things for this week. What'd you see? It was a pretty quiet week overall, football wise.
Yeah, pretty quiet week. One of the things I saw, and I don't know that it's been confirmed, but I know last week we talked about Aaron Rodgers and how I didn't think it was necessarily the biggest deal that he was missing camp. But to further that story, I got a tidbit of information. Saw that one of the people are speculating that perhaps he was missing minicamp due to an ayahuasca retreat, and so
So
I just
where would that be?
I'm not sure.
Ayahuasca. Like
I didn't get that part of it, but obviously, I would guess perhaps Mexico. I know he went on a retreat. I want to say a year or 2 ago. He did it before, but in Peru.
and these are
I'm
basically magic mushrooms, correct?
no. Ayahuasca is comes from a bark of a tree,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's psychedelic, right? It's a
Okay.
psychedelic effect, and it's a Schedule 1. mean, I don't even really want to call it a drug just because, it's,
It's bark.
I think a drug is like there's a chemical process, right? It's just, it's a bark, right? And it tickled me just because I recently had, I'll call it a similar experience with mushrooms. And it was my first time ever trying it. And I get the whole kind of mind expanding, experience. I didn't necessarily have, I wouldn't say it was mind expanding for me, but I did get super introspective. I got my feelings and I had a lot of things to say to a lot of people, which
Was
I
that
was,
good?
well, and so, yeah, it was, but luckily I was with some very dear friends that I trust. And they were like, no, put your phone away.
Oh, you were going to start texting or calling people?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah. People who were not sharing the experience, probably best.
Yeah. So they were not they did not take the mushrooms, so they were constantly checking on me, making sure I was okay. And for me, it was just a great experience. But I don't know if I told you, but Madison, my oldest, is a huge proponent of psychedelics and the medicinal, uh, therapeutical protocols. And it's still being explored, and the efficacy and the safety of it. But I felt
Yeah.
like I was in a situation where I didn't have to worry about much. Like I wasn't gonna hurt myself. Like I said, I was around people that I trusted. But and when I got done, and like that next week, I really kind of just went down the rabbit hole looking into many of the studies that. Um, because like I said, it's a Schedule One. It's Schedule One. It has a Schedule One rating, and what that says is that there's no medicinal purpose, and that it's addictive, and that's just not the case, right? That's just not. It's objectively, many of the studies I saw, it's just objectively false, and I think part of it is just back in whenever when it got its Schedule One rating, I think people were not really aware of, how it can help some people.
Yeah.
And sure, always going to be people who just want the good feeling, but at the same time, it can help some people. And I think now it's just easier just to leave it as it is. So hopefully, at some point moving forward, that will change, and I think will, because they're like I said, they're really studying it. I know there's a lot of companies up in Canada who are looking to, and obviously they have different rules in Canada about the legality and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
there's some companies up there who are looking into starting businesses and starting getting ahead of the curve, which we had with many companies in the marijuana sector, right?
Right. Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
that lead up to making it all legal. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I, something like that, I'm sure causes less harm than if you go out and you drink a six pack of beer and you get behind a wheel. I mean,
right, exactly,
anything
exactly,
behind a wheel is probably not a good thing, but
right,
interesting. So we'll have to see how he comes back
yeah,
and
right.
if he's, you know, ready to
No, that's
go.
not confirmed. That's not confirmed, by the way. I don't want to say that's confirmed, but that's one of the things that I saw. Like you said, it's a slow week, so people are speculating on where he is, and that's just one of the things I saw. And because of my recent experience, I was like, let me hit that a little bit. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yes. And now I'm like very interested in the fact that you have, I mean, that seems like that was a big step for you. Was that,
Oh, it was.
yeah.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely
Interesting.
stepping out of my comfort zone.
Hey, that's good. You got to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, we can move on to there was some interesting fashion
Yeah.
this week. And I shared it with both you and Ashton because I thought that the men's Louis Vuitton runway show in Paris was just so fabulous, and Pharrell is the designer of that line, and I think he's amazing. I think he's incredibly talented. Caleb Williams was there, FYI. He snuck
Okay.
away and jetted off to Paris for his first run. Maybe it wasn't his first runway show, but his first runway show as an NFL quarterback. So that
Right.
was pretty cool. But the interesting thing was when I was reading a little bit more about the collection is that the collection was designed to celebrate diversity of human skin. So go back
Okay.
and watch it again, and then you'll watch like the various hues of skin. And he said it, the models were enclosed representing all of the hues of human flesh. So you'll notice if you watch it again that it goes, from blacks to browns to reddish to beigey to white. Like I really didn't know that that was the point of the show, but pretty interesting. And also I just thought that it was just a beautiful collection, and I loved some of the sparkle. I loved the fact that he showed accessories with every look. Um, there were these really funny but yet quite cool, and I would like to have them, almost like knee highs. Remember, not that you would wear them, but your mom probably did, pantyhose knee highs, you know? So one of the models was wearing these like knee highs, and then they had sparkly LV in the side.
Right.
Very cool.
I'll tell you what, Kim, I was absolutely blown away. It was fantastic. Uh, I saw there, so I did pick up on the colors.
Did you?
Um, I did. I didn't know necessarily. I didn't put a theme to it, but I definitely saw. Okay, like I get kind of where they're going with it, and then I thought the music was great, the
Yes.
venue fantastic,
Beautiful.
and then of course I saw so many things that I wanted. The one thing I didn't care for is that I think some of the bags got. It wasn't even like man purses. I think that some of them were just purses, and there were men
Oh,
carrying them.
yeah,
And
they
so,
definitely were. They definitely
yeah, that's
were.
probably not for me,
Yeah.
but
But
overall, I thought it was fantastic, and like to like the heat, Pharrell's behind it just is even more impressive.
he's so
And
interesting.
yeah,
So, so,
yeah,
so interesting.
I saw
Well,
three or
so
four
I
trunks.
enjoyed that. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying I saw three or four trunks that I want. There was a black one right at the beginning, and then there was almost like a UCLA blue, kind of towards the middle, and then some of the look. I'm not the body type. I'm sure that Pharrell is thinking about as all these clothes are being designed. But yeah, I was impressed, and that it was Pharrell just even more impressive.
Well, and remember, we did talk about this before, where a lot of that stuff will never actually see production. It's really
Right,
more of the concept and
what we're
the art.
capable of.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
I thought it was very, very exciting, and so yeah, Paris Men's Week is still going on. So I'm sure there's a few other football players and others who are there partaking. Um,
right.
One last thing that I just wanted to mention. This is football related in a way because it's happening at Lucas Oil Field, the home of the Colts. But have you watched any of the swimming Olympic trials?
I haven't watched any, but after I talked to you and you made me aware that they built, a tank
Yeah.
inside of Lucas Stadium, I definitely checked out some shots of it.
Isn't it amazing? So they built the Olympic size pool, which is 50 meters, and a warm up pool, and they're above ground pools. So then they built that the pool deck like up around it, so it doesn't look like it's an above ground pool. And then they're using the jumbotron, and then they have those big screens, and the swimmers are up there doing like all the movement, like you see at football games and stuff. It
Right.
has to be beyond exciting for these swimmers to be there, and 20,000 people the first night. Can you imagine?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy for swimming, right?
Yeah, so so cool. And
Yeah.
that's just awesome that the field was open to that. Like I can't even imagine how that conversation started, but
Right.
I love it. Love, love, love it.
Yeah, it was awesome. It looked great.
It was very neat. Decided to say neat instead of cool, but then I decided neat is just not a good word.
Oh,
Well, any family or food? I mean, now that we know a little more about you, Vaughn, there's like, what else can we talk about? Or shall we call it time at 41 minutes? What do you think?
No, I think we'll save it for the next one. We I've
And
exposed my.
we're gonna have some we're gonna be doing something exciting in September, so we'll talk more about that as we get a little bit closer. But it's fashion related. Little
Yep.
little a little teaser. So okay, well, I guess that's a wrap on episode 8. Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Ashton. And we will be back again with But First Football. Bye bye bye.
Bye.